In this episode, I get to speak with Corrin Swintosky. We dissect the criminal justice system and provide insights on how, as legal professionals, we can improve this system. Listen in for more. Before we get into this episode, we would like to thank our Season 4 sponsor, Affirm Investigative Solutions, your go-to litigation support company. Without them, we would not be able to keep upgrading and integrating new concepts to this growing podcast. If you would like to take your support further, feel free to hit the support button on our Let's Talk Paralegal website so we can continue providing quality and empowering content for you and all our listeners. Hi, everyone. It's your girl, Etta. Welcome to the Let's Talk Paralegal podcast. Today, I have Corrin. I hope I said that right. And we are going to talk about a couple of things. Some of them may surprise you, some of them may not, but it's going to be a very interesting, dynamic episode. And if that's, getting you ready, without further ado, Corrin, please introduce yourself to the audience and let us know about your magic.
Hi, Etta. Thank you so much for the opportunity to appear. I'm super excited to be here. I have been working in the criminal legal system for about 5 years now in quite a few different sectors. I started in probation. I really like the idea of working individually with people who are currently formally incarcerated. I did a little parole work as well because I really wanted to focus on the individual. And supervision is very discretionary. It gives you a lot of room to work with people in different ways, bring resources where needed. But I did feel limited. I didn't feel like I could help people the way that I wanted to. So I did transition into court administration. I worked in the criminal division, in court, out of court sessions to learn all the procedural stuff, which was great, but again, felt limited. So I went back to school, got my paralegal certificate, and I've been working the past couple years in the criminal law department, specifically specializing in post-conviction relief matters. So I do criminal expungements, as well as clemency-related items such as pardon and commutation applications, which we can get more into.
Exactly. So, that was a great segue. So let's get right into, because I can see the excitement on your face. For those of you that are listening to the podcast and not looking, you'll see that beautiful smile when she said those last things. So let's talk a little bit about that. And obviously, it's a topic that's near and dear to you, right? You've focused on that primarily throughout your career. So definitely, I understand why the transition and why the, I guess the curiosity, right? So let's get into it and tell us a little more about that.
Absolutely. Yeah. In my time before becoming a paralegal, I just saw more and more how much the system is flawed and how much there just isn't a lot of, room for relief and how much barriers there were to people, even when they were on probation and after they exited probation, and then they just come right back into the system. And I was like, wait a minute, what is going on? There's something not adding up here. So the reason why I went into this and specialized is because, criminal expungements, the main thing that I can do as a paralegal, I help people individually with it, legal assistants and attorneys, is it seals the record from not only the court system, but other government agencies. So with that being said, when someone does a background check on someone and a case has been expunged, it doesn't show up with law enforcement, prosecutor's office, any type of government agency that's in charge of holding the record. And that's really important because a lot of people that get a criminal conviction, they struggle with housing, employment, licensing, education. You name it. It's very difficult. So the process is extremely tedious. It takes quite a long time. I've helped so many clients that come in and they're like, I just applied for a job. Can you guys help me get this sealed? And we have to say it can take anywhere from 6 to 12 months. I'm really sorry, you're not going to get that job right now. So there's definitely still improvement that needs to be done. I am based in Minnesota. So we have done an amazing legislative session last year where we enacted the Clean Slate Law, which is going to bring automatic expungement of low-level offenses such as misdemeanors, petty misdemeanors, gross misdemeanors. Felonies are still going to remain off there, but there is a list of eligible felonies that you can go through the traditional expungement route, petitioning the court whatsoever. But that's going to be a huge step. That's expected to be completed in our state by 2025. And then there were quite a few other states that also had really big legislative sessions in regards to expungements and broadening the scope for the type of cases that can be sealed, as well as increasing eligibility by shortening the waiting period, how long you have to wait until after you're convicted to apply or petition for expungement. I know, let's see, Washington, D.C. was a part of that, Maryland, Ohio, and I'm missing a couple others, but we're definitely moving in the right direction. It's just going to take some time.
Absolutely, like anything else, right? Especially when we're making such a big move. I know for a fact, and we had this amazing guest on our podcast. I don't know if it was this season or last season. My memory is pretty foggy at this moment. My seasons are going in, but his name was Jay Jordan, and that's what he did. He assisted people that were either convicted or have a misdemeanor under their belt or petty theft or anything like that, where to rehabilitate them, right? To show them how to enter back into society without that dark cloud over them and without that stigma. He himself was also in the system and he understands what that can be like, which is why he opened up his own business in the first place, because up to his words, not mine, he was unemployable. Nobody wanted to hire him, and he was having a very difficult time finding a job of the caliber that he wanted, not just a job at the C-suite, or something more that would bring him and his family more value, right? More quality of life. And unfortunately, that's a huge gap in our system right now, especially the criminal justice system. I don't know, for those of you, and this is a little history lesson that I've actually relearned during my current, I'm in the middle of a master's degree now. So I relearned this, and it refreshed my memory. The civil litigation system was founded, right, and established. The criminal justice system is a case-by-case basis. There is no foundation for it other than at the federal level. But at the state level, there is no foundational roadmap for it, for lack of a better word at this moment. So understand that that's why there's so much inconsistencies and so many discrepancies throughout the system, because it's not a one size fits all like anything else in life. However, there is no roadmap to it either. It's kind of like a parent, there's no roadmap to parenthood. I hate to compare it, but it's true. So understanding that we have a long way to go because we have no guidance, right? We're learning this as we go, and we're learning it, unfortunately, on the backs of those that have suffered the consequences. So, I'm glad that there are, people like you and Jay Jordan and others that have been on the podcast that are big advocates for our criminal justice reform. I know another push specifically here where I live in Florida, we're pushing for continuing education for our first responders. Most of them come into the system around the age of 19, 20, straight out of high school. They go to the academy and then that's it. But laws change, society changes, and that's it. They have no continuing education as far as how to handle and protect our communities. And that's unfortunate. That's another gap that we have. And that's probably another reason why people go back, right? Because we continue to just arrest them, put them through the system, and then, what is it? The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. So unfortunately, that's not working. And we know that. We are well aware of the fact that it's not working. So I'm really happy that you're part of this, and that you're not alone, right? Because one can make a difference, but many can make a huge difference. So hopefully that will continue that way, and we'll be able to continue with also the limited licensing for non-lawyers. That's another push that we're struggling with here in Florida, but it has been accomplished in other places. So tell us a little bit about Lucid Legal Support. I know it's your company, obviously, duh. But what was the I guess the initiative, or the how do I say this? The mission and the vision. I want to sound powerful right now, but I'm really lacking words right now. So just tell me a little bit about what it is and how this, I like to call them babies, how these babies were born.
Yes. Well, my business is definitely still a baby. I started in April of 2023. So I'm still very, very new in the business owner, just, having a business department. But my mission or vision that I had when I started, and still do and want to, continue with, is I noticed that there was a lot of barriers and lack of affordable legal assistance and support and aid to individuals that desperately needed it. As you know, we have large marginalized, underprivileged communities that go through the criminal legal system. And, we in Minnesota have public defenders. They're amazing. They know what they do. I used to work at the public defender's office. They are very overworked and underpaid. I'm sure that's not new news to anybody. So I wanted to be in a sector where I could help other nonprofits, solo attorneys, other legal professionals that were interested in this sector and bring that, legal support together. And the reason why I chose the name Lucid Legal Support is because lucid translate to clearly expressing. And I think that a lot of things get lost in translation from legalese, statutes, codes, case law to the individuals that we're trying to serve. And I want to be a support system for that individual, whether it's from arrest to, court to sentencing to afterward. You don't have to feel helpless. You don't have to feel hopeless. Like there are people here that want to help you and want to support you. It's, just putting yourself out there and making sure that those services are known, because for individuals that I'm sure are recently released or are in custody or incarcerated, it's really hard to get through Department of Correction systems. But I want to do what I can and working with my partners to make sure that those services get where they're needed.
Oh, I love that. That's amazing. And that's a beautiful mission. And I hope you continue it and grow it and expand it. Because I remember when I first started my business is nothing like it is 7 years now later. I started with a vision, same as you, offering legal support to lawyers that needed the assistance or organizations. And I did that. I did that for about 3 years. And then I transitioned into what I do now, which is legal consulting for those law firms. Some of them, the same law firms I offered my services to, and educating, right? Because you educate the community and you help the community. I educate the people that work for the community, because I feel like if we can offer better services, if we can expand our horizons and expand our skills, we can better serve our community as well. So I do it on the other spectrum. But
Nice,
thank you
good.
so much. I do always ask my guests, and I hope I don't put you on the spot here, but I do always ask my guests to provide some type of takeaway. So maybe like a tip or something like that for either the legal professionals listening to the podcast and how to better serve their community, how to look for services like this around them, right? Like locally or something like that, or anything of that nature. If there's something that maybe you can help them, some type of resource or book or something that they can take away from this podcast episode and really, start their own change.
Sure, sure. No, that is an incredible question. I would say, each state and jurisdiction is different, but if you can get into a space where you can talk and interact with people that are in currently or have been through the system, I think that will bring tremendous perspective to spark the change. I personally have never been through the criminal legal system, and I recognize that. And I don't have that same perspective as someone who has, like other guests you've had on that podcast, but hearing people's stories and talking to people definitely brings that needed perspective to spark change. I know that a national organization, NAMI, let's see, they work with mental health, but they also work very closely with a lot of county jails, local jails, to provide mental health services, medication, or just people that are struggling on the inside that might not have a way to communicate with family, friends, or what have you. So NAMI works very closely with those local county jails for that, and potentially state facilities too, but I know local jails for sure. So there's also a lot of community, I'm sure, organizations and people's areas that are, specific to the state or city that work with that as well. But yeah, just talking to justice impacted people will bring you the perspective I think you need to, want and be able to help, because you never know what opportunities might come your way.
I love it. I love it. And I'm a big advocate of that, right? Actually on one of our later episodes, this episode will launch before that episode, so that's going to be a great transition. But that's what I speak about, one of our tips, because we often get questions and inquiries on through our social media outlets about how can I be more involved and how can I grow my career? Well, you have to be more involved in your community. You have to learn about the community that you're serving in order to enhance that skill, because there's no better education than for hands-on.
Absolutely.
You can learn everything you want to learn in a classroom, and hey, obviously I'm an advocate of it, right? I'm going for my master's, so I do practice what I preach on that end. But guys, I read like 22 books last year, all on personal development and how to run a business. And I have to learn other ways, because this degree is not going to teach me that. It's not going to teach me about my mental health and how to change my mindset and how to run a team effectively, and how to organize my business and how to market it and all that good stuff, because it's great, right? I have an assistant, I have a podcast manager, I have a marketing assistant, I have a team. Thankfully, I'm very blessed for that. But how can I run something I don't know, right? I have to know the topic. It's like trying to practice as a paralegal or as a lawyer without knowing what you're practicing, without knowing the statutes or how to get to the statutes or policies and procedures and guidelines and judicial directories and all that good stuff, without knowing the actual blueprint. You're not going to be able to construct your foundation, right? So I educate myself on the daily. That's my mission. Every day I learn something different. And it's been a thing, especially with that I think my parents instilled that in me. You're never better than anybody. You're not the smartest person in the room, because somebody will always know something more about something more than you. So don't ever think that you're the smartest one, even though you know a lot. So yeah, with that, I think we're good, right? I mean, that's a lot of information. I hope the audience is not like overwhelmed right now. But yes, there's a lot of resources out there. We'll have the links down below for you guys, especially if you want to connect with Corrin later on and learn more about Lucid Legal Support. And of course, I'll always be here for you guys until justice is served. I'll be here.